So here is my cube. I'm going to label this cube. I'm going to label this 5 1/4 inches. 2 lines means 2 syllables, inches. If I had 1 here, it would be feet. So 5 1/4 inches, and I'm going to put my name on this so that if I drop it, somebody can find it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wedge some clay, and I've already done that. Once I've wedged the clay, I'm going to be bringing it over and get ready to roll out some slabs. My suggestion for those of you working in the classroom is that you place a plastic bag underneath, okay? Some type of plastic to go underneath. I'm at home. I have some canvas on the table. This works well too. You have to be careful with canvas because it will suck a little bit of water out of your clay when you wedge on it or what have you. And actually earlier, you can kind of see over here, I was wedging on the canvas on purpose because it was just a little too wet. So I was purposely wedging on the canvas. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my handy dandy template close by. I'm going to get my slats, S-L-A-T-S, close to the clay. I'm going to grab my rolling pin. This is the train. These are the tracks. And I'm going to start to roll out my clay. It's a little sticky. That's all right. And what I'm going to do is as soon as I get the clay to be pretty wide, it's wide enough for my template, I'm going to turn the clay. It's still very thick. The reason we're using these slats is to make sure that the clay rolls out to be an even thickness. So I always check the thickness of my slats and make sure that they're even. You can see I have 2 pieces of wood taped together just to make sure these are even. And then I know that however I roll this, it's going to turn out the exact thickness I need. The direction I roll is the way it will grow. So if you remind yourself that, if you're saying, hey, it's not doing it right, well, maybe you needed to switch the clay because as I'm rolling up and down, it's going to grow up and down. If I find an area that has an air bubble, it's really simple. You'll kind of see a bubble sticking out. And on this particular one, I'm not really seeing any. But if I did see a bubble, I would simply poke it a few times. And then I would take my spray bottle, fill in that bubble with air. The water weighs more than the air. It'll replace the air. And it'll force that air bubble to disappear and become part of the clay. Next thing I'm going to grab my rib, and I'm going to smooth it out really nice. I want to be careful that I'm not smearing so hard that I'm lengthening it beyond the thickness I wanted. Looks like I still have a little bit of rolling I can do here. I'm going to place my template on top. If I can get 2 out of this, I will. It doesn't look like I can. For those of you making rectangles, you might be able to get a different shape out of this. Since I'm doing a square, I'm going to use as close to the edge as I can. I need 6 of these. I need 1 for the bottom, 4 for the sides, and 1 for the top. What I'll do now is I'm going to carefully cut along that line that I've created. If your clay is hard, you can simply retrace that line until your needle tool goes all the way through. If this cuts your bag that you're working with, that's okay. Use that bag as your tablecloth for when you're making your other slabs. And don't use it to store your stuff in because it's just kind of a bag full of holes and you don't want a bunch of problems. If I find that this wants to change shape, if I hold it by one corner, you can kind of see that my shape is actually becoming uneven now. If I need to push back a shape, what I'll do is I'll take my slats or a ruler and I'll push it in like this. Okay. Push it in, get it back to the square that I need. Now I'm going to make 5 more of these. And so as far as storage, I've got my board. I make sure that my board is inside a plastic bag. I'm going to carefully, using both hands, pick up my wall. I'm going to place it down on the board. I'm going to take my rib, clean it up a little bit, make sure it looks good. I can even clean it up before I put it on the board. I like this side too, it looks great. And then I'm going to grab some plastic wrap and I'm going to place a little bit or a bag down over this piece. And you can kind of see where that piece is. I have it completely on the board so it doesn't warp. My next piece will go on top of this. So I'm going to do clay, plastic, clay, plastic, clay, plastic, clay, plastic. At the end of the period, I'll wrap the whole thing in a bag.